I think doing anything well is easier if you have great tools. Today, I'll show you the 5 stock market related investing tools that I use to do research, to plan for the future, and to fact check claims. Tool number 1 is YouTube. This is kind of obvious because here we are. We're right here on YouTube right now. But it really is an incredible source of completely free information that's regularly updated, and it's curated to your desire and your style. If you like me and my thought process, you can subscribe and see all my videos for free. Don't like me? There's somebody else out there that's more your style, guaranteed. And that's the beauty of YouTube. You can get all the info you need in the form you like it the most. Some of the personal finance YouTubers that are on my list of subscriptions are The Plain Bagel, The Graham Stephan Show, Andre Jick, Hey There, Dave Here, and a bunch of others. But I'm not subscribed to most people, and that's fine because I don't want to listen to them. I also watch a lot of car videos, and so as a side example, I only really watch videos from Chris Harris, Matt Farah, and Henry Catchpole. I don't want to watch anybody else's videos, and that's fine. I get all the info I need. But YouTube can't do what Portfolio Visualizer does. That's tool number 2. I personally think that this tool is underrated because it allows you to test your past investing and see if you made a mistake or not. It's sort of like a regret tester, like a meter of how much regret you should have or not, but that's not the way I want to live, so let's just look at it from a different angle. This tool allows you to input information about your portfolio or any portfolio you want and back test it to see how it performed compared to anything else. Should you have been investing in an S&P 500 index fund for the last 10 years instead of those 3 stocks that you picked? Let's test it and see. I'll pull it up right now. Whenever you go to portfoliovisualizer.com, you can just type in backtest asset allocation, and that's what I personally go to the most. So let's say the last 10 years from 2012 till now, let's say you started with $1,000, you contributed a fixed amount, let's say $100, you put it in every month, you rebalanced, and then let's say portfolio number 1 was the US stock market. Not 1,000%, that's impossible. And then portfolio number 2 was not. And then let's say that you wanted to test that against somebody who is a lot more conservative, maybe somebody who likes bonds or other things like that. Ooh, maybe some gold. Let's test it against gold. I will love this. Okay, this guy is conservative. He's very skeptical of the markets. He's going to be 45% gold. This isn't like a crazy example because my dad just talked to an investment advisor person and he was advising this giant chunk of their money to be in gold. So this is a real thing. People are really doing this. Let's say another 45% was in a 10-year treasury and then the rest was just US large cap stocks, which is just big companies. We can hit analyze portfolios and it shows you a breakdown of the first one, which is the US stock market. And the second one gives you a nice little pie chart. Very cool. Then we get into the data. Portfolio 1 obviously just drastically outperformed portfolio 2 because it's got $31,000 in it. The other one down here only has $18,000. That's incredible. Even the worst year of this much more volatile kind of US stock market portfolio is less worse than the 10-year treasury gold and US large cap kind of combo there. The best year was 33% for that first one, and the best year was 17.4. Wow, 17.4 is a lot better than I expected portfolio number 2 to get. That's surprising to me. And then it gives you a nice little chart of the two so you can see the growth. It looks like the big jump started to be made in 2013, and then there in 2020, they got pretty close together again. But since 2020, the US stock market portfolio has created another little lead there, has pulled ahead. You get a little chart with the returns, you get all this info. So I think that this is a really interesting tool because a lot of people will make claims and say, oh, well, you would have been better off doing this, or the return on this has been that. And it's like, people just throw out some numbers. Obviously, you have to be talking to people about money stuff. But if you're doing that, people throw out some numbers and throw out some claims. So you can cut through that BS and say, let's find out. Let's compare right now. Boom. And you can put in all this information and get your back testing done. And I think it's just fascinating too. Like, you can't use this as a predictor of what's going to happen in the future because the past is different than whatever's going to be happening in 2035. But I just think that it's a lot of fun to have this kind of data at my fingertips and to be able to fact check people like some crazy claim that Uncle Lou made. No, Lou. You don't know what you're talking about. Gold was not a better choice. Tool number 3 is some email newsletters that I get that I surprisingly love. Most of the time I'm spending my time unsubscribing from different things because I don't want any more emails. But I actually really like these 3 newsletters. These are my daily news feed because the news itself is just too time consuming and convoluted and negative. I read these every morning whenever I eat breakfast, and these days breakfast is oatmeal and blueberries. delicious. And what they do is they give me the control to intake only really the information that I want. I'm not getting bombarded by a bunch of random stuff by like a news anchor. Morning Brew is the first one that I read, and I think it's the best overall because it's the most entertaining of the three. It's brief, and because the information that they choose to write about feels like it makes the most sense as something that like matters to my life. It's also free, which is great, and they just do a good job keeping things fun, which I love. The second one is the Wall Street Journal newsletter, and it covers really similar subjects to Morning Brew, but in a format that's a lot more formal and kind of less fun. They do go more into depth, and so if you want to drill down into a story and like get all the details, then that's the place to go. But it's not free, and you have to have a Wall Street Journal subscription to get it, so that's a big detriment. If you are already subscribed to Wall Street Journal, all you have to do is go online and like opt into this to get it, so that's pretty cool. StockTwits is the third one, and it's kind of funny because it's mostly annoying to me, but it's every now and then useful. StockTwits as a website is just a place that gives you information about investing and kind of has like a social media element to it. It tells you what's hot right now, what people are talking about, what's trendy. And I think knowing that is more interesting than it is instructive when it comes to what I choose to invest in. I don't necessarily go around chasing trends because I think that that's a losing proposition when it comes to investing, but you do you. StockTwits also has a newsletter, which I sometimes read, but it points out a lot of stuff that's more like numerical and data driven than Morning Brew, which is fine. I don't love it or hate it, but it's not my favorite of the three. And this one is also free. If you had to subscribe to just one, I would definitely recommend Morning Brew. Tool number 4 is an investment calculator. This is my most often used tool by far, other than YouTube. There's a ton of these different calculators across the internet, so you can find the one that you like, but I would seem to come back to this one on calculator.net just because it feels like it's really quick and simple and easy to use, and it works well on your phone, like on a mobile browser, works really cleanly. An investment calculator is just a place where you can do some basic math to answer your burning wonderings, like if I invest $100 per month for 30 years and make 10% interest on it, how much money will I have? Or what if I get a fat raise and I invest $750 a month instead? Or what if I do the same thing, but we only make 7% interest instead because the stock market wasn't as good? It just makes answering those kind of questions super fast and easy, which I love. I've used tools like this to answer those kind of questions for years. I think this is the most underutilized tool when it comes to financial conversations that I'm having with people, and it's really important that you know that these are out there. They're all over the place. They're free. They're fast, they're easy. If you're not using these, you really should, because you don't have to wait for someone like me to make a video or wait for someone else to write an article to tell you a lot of these kind of financial projections. Oh, you should be saving this much to have that much money then. It's really satisfying to go out there and answer your own questions. So I recommend that. Number 5 is Toggle. And I have 2 things to reveal about Toggle. Number 1, they're sponsoring this video. And number 2, I really do use the tool. Also, I wouldn't let them sponsor a video if I didn't think that their service was worthwhile. So know that about this and about future sponsorships. Toggle is wildly powerful because it uses the power of AI and millions of data points and people a lot smarter than me to program all that to analyze far more than you or I can on our own. It uses a ton of different indicators for the market overall and for each individual stock to say, hey, the last time these market conditions happened, this particular investment performed in this way. Let's look something up together so you can see what I'm talking about. How about AT&T? All right, so I've pulled up AT&T on the Toggle website here, and what we can see is this big chart. So obviously since January, the price has gone down a lot, which is depressing if you're an owner of AT&T. What's interesting is that this is a lot more than just something like a Yahoo financial indicator to go, well, what was the price 3 years ago? Oh, geez, it's gone down a lot. Like, what does that mean for me? The power of Toggle comes in strongly over here where you read what's moving the asset. So what it's doing is looking at technical analysis for you and saying, hey, based on the price and based on these other factors, there's this potential upside from here. And so what you can do is click on this and say, wow, they think that there's this really exciting upside that it could go up 13.49% from here, which would be great. It's got a 5-star kind of confidence level, which is really good. There's been 12 times where the similar occurrence has happened, so they have something to back this up, and it's a 98% hit rate. Like, that seems very confident. And then you can get into even more detail if you want and see what are the things that it analyzed. What are you kind of projecting out here, and what do you think is going to happen here, Toggle? And one of my favorite things about this service, even though it is like really nerdy, is all this stuff that's in light blue is a clickable thing. So what you can do is say, hey, how do you do this? How are you claiming that based on past performance something is going to happen now? And you can click on that, and then it gives you like this little explanation of, hey, this is why we think this is going to happen. This one in particular particular went to a YouTube video, which is cute. Let's go back to their website. But even if you just roll over that stuff, it's really cool because these kind of like tips are just buried everywhere to where it explains their thought process and it explains why they're doing what they're doing and how they get to this conclusion, which I think is paramount. Like for me, I can't just take things on face value. I need to know a little bit more info as far as why you're coming to this conclusion. I obviously can't like fact check all of this stuff for myself, but I'd go, hey, this is interesting. Insight quality checklist. 5 out of 8 stars are telling me that this is something that should happen. So you can see where these stars are, where it's happened at least 10 times in the past. Condition is notable. Condition is notable relative to the history. It's got a high historic hit rate. It's got an attractive risk and reward. It's like saying, hey, this is why this insight that we're giving you is high quality. Now, if all of those were lit up, it'd be like super high quality. So you can see that what they're doing is a whole level deeper and smarter than anything that I've typically shown you so far in these tools. And I think that's really cool. Like if you want to get into that and you want to learn more, I think they're a great stepping stone because they do so much of this for you and they show you what's going on. So then you can ingest all that information and say, hey, I want to get really nerdy on AT&T or Tesla or whoever. And I want to know what's been happening, what's happening now, what might happen in the future, and just have so much fun getting into all these details. Oh, I almost forgot. They also have this section over here on the side that's news insights. I think that's a cool thing because they have this tied to the stock or the investment that you're looking at. And so if you want to, you can see what people are saying about this and what their overall like opinion of it is to say, hey, these people think that it's good to invest in this. These people think that Microsoft is not going to do so well. And then it gives you the article that you can click right on and go and read that insight. So it puts all that information at your fingertips, which is very cool. Despite all that detail and all those features, Toggle is free to try for the first 30 days. And best of all, you can do that without entering a credit card code. No accidental subscription fees come into your life anytime soon. I think it's fun and it's impressive to see what Toggle can do. And so if you want to give it a try too, then go to the link in the description to sign up for that free trial. Bonus tool number 6 coming at you is FireCalc. FireCalc is like an investment calculator, but a lot more nerdy and detailed. Specifically, it stands for Financial Independence Retire Early Calculator. And its job is to take the basic info from your financial life, like how much you're investing, what your annual spending is, and how long you plan to be retired, and it'll tell you if you're on track or not. It takes that information and then it runs it through a bunch of possible scenarios in its programming to give you a likely range of outcomes. This is a common thing in the financial world and it's called a Monte Carlo simulator. And so you may have heard that term before. What it's doing for you is instead of you putting in 100 possible inputs in that investment calculator and changing a variable here and there, it's doing one big fat calculation for you and then giving you all those outcomes in like a summary format. It's very cool. The result, as you can see here, looks a little crazy, but what it's showing you is that these are all the possible outcomes to the stuff that you've typed in. It tells you the possible minimum and maximum balance that your account could end up with, which isn't really that helpful if we're honest, but then it tells you what the average is, which is more helpful, and it tells you how many times you ran out of money, which is super helpful. For example, if you think that you can retire right now as a 40-year-old when you spend $50,000 per year to live and you only have $450,000 saved, FireCalc will come down on that dream hard by telling you that you have a 0% success rate because the odds are good that you're going to live to be like 80 years old. And so you've got 40 more years to live and you're going to run out of money. This thing could be renamed Reality Checker. And there are other Monte Carlo simulators out there on the internet too that do basically the same thing. But I like how this one kind of packages the results up together and it explains them more clearly. So I keep coming back to FireCalc. Ultimately, the tools don't make the investor, but they are really helpful. They speed things up and they make the process more fun. Speaking of tools, the secret comment for today is drill. If you enjoyed the video or you plan to drill down into some data using these tools, then drop a comment with the word drill and I'll keep an eye out for it because these are my favorite comments by far. One tool that I didn't mention in this video, but that's actually worth using is a budget. A lot of the services nowadays that try and do budgeting for you seem like they'd be really handy because they link to your bank account automatically, they sort through all your transactions for you, and they try and categorize them. It seems really cool, but in my experience, they often come up short. I use a spreadsheet that I've built over the last 4 years to keep track of where my money is going and how much I'm spending. This video goes over that spreadsheet in a lot of detail and it shows you how to get a copy of it and how to use it. So tap here to watch that video and get your free copy now.